This is the subject that in fashion maybe it's not most desired and learning experience, but if it's about the general retouch, about the essentials of retouching, this is absolutely crucial. So I need to show you how to clean the image. I choose this image. Of course, we have few other images, but this image has the most details on the skin available. So on this image, I want to show you how to quickly clean the skin. This is super important. I had other courses on retouching, on beauty retouching, etc. Though we have to do this step every time we do. Even in fashion retouching, we keep the skin and most of the parts as natural as possible. But of course, all of the pimples and unwanted maybe scars cannot exist on the image. So how I clean the image step by step. First of all, you can use the mouse, but the best part to clean up your fashion images and especially any other kind of images is to get Wacom tablet. So if you don't have, just Google Wacom tablet. This is something that helps you a lot with your retouching. And how I retouch itself, I create empty layer. And I'm going to clean this. I'm going to call this clean. Not going to clean this clean, but going to call this clean. So why I created the empty layer? The answer is very simple. I don't want to work on this background layer because once I'm going to work and clean this and I want to remove this layer or do a step back, it will be difficult. Though, if I'm going to clean on this empty layer, I can remove this layer later and my image is untouched. That's why it's so important to work on empty layer, because you want to work non-destructively. Another step, tools we going to use is healing brush tool, another is clone stamp tool. What's the difference between them two? You see, I'm going to explain you. Healing brush, basically you taking a sample from the areas and apply the texture to the area you want to clean and it adjusts the colors around. So that's about the healing brush. But first, before we start working, after you choose your tool, make sure with healing brush you work with hard-edged brush and go to sample and make sure the sample is as a current and below, not as a current layer, because you cannot clean anything if you have current layer. You have to current below, because when you work, everything below will be also cleaned. So once everything is like this, I can show you how to work with these tools. So first of all, I clean the image using healing brush tool. What is happening? You can see I'm taking a sample and I'm covering the areas and it adjusts the colors around. What you will see on your computer, possible you can see only this round and cross all the time. It's because of my recording software. But what you meant to see, just a round, which is your brush, you press in Alt or Option and you see this cross and you then take a sample, you release that and you see round again and then you cover. That's how it works. So if you see something different on your skin, don't worry. If you see things as I just explained, it's correct. So that's first part, what I do with healing brush tool. I also work with clone stamp. With clone stamp is the difference. I usually keep soft-edged brush and everything is the same, including current below. So what clone stamp does, when you take a sample, simply clone, you're not only cloning the texture as before, but also color. So when you apply here, you apply texture from here as well as color from here. So it doesn't work on such sensitive areas like healing brush works much better with sensitive areas. So when I use clone stamp, you see I use clone stamp to even out the rough skin texture and hair. For example, here, I press very softly. So I take sample and paint it really, really softly to fix this area, as you can see. So it's absolutely nicely. You don't need to use any weird techniques, but by soft painting, you can even out your skin texture really nicely. So I mix basically these two tools. I'm going to clean this fast now, all of the pimples. There is not so much work really. Just make sure nothing will be that visible, especially pimples, because if you have some of the black dot on the face and it's the dot that she was born with or something like this, this is not something you want to remove, not necessarily. You better consult this with your customer, or if you are your own customer, you can decide, but really such an special attributes on the models are only good thing in most of the cases. Maybe not only, but in most of the cases. This is really, really good thing. So I'm going to even out this a little bit more over here. Let's work on it. And of course, don't forget the neck and the hands. Many people forget about this and clean only face, but this is something we have to do. So quickly, there's some of this white sparkles as well. And of course, when it's about the tattoo, it depends on what you're doing, because if your customer would ask you, we need to remove tattoo, then you're doing this. In other cases, I don't see the reason behind that to do this. So quickly, all of the other spots. And of course, the last thing, don't forget about the clothes. So after I clean the skin, I'm checking all of the areas possible. It's quite much. I'm trying to do this as fast, but I really want to make sure that skin is fully clean. This is so important, no matter that I'm doing just coarse, but I want to make sure the image is done well so you can see it. Of course, clothes. Clothes are the major player in fashion images. This is most important thing here. Don't forget to clean it, and it has to be clean. It has to be fully representative, because it's the main subject you want to sell on the photography. That's something, and this is, if you are even a photographer, this is very promising job for you. As a photographer of fashion images, there is so many fashion designers right now. They always need photographers, and the industry is only growing right now. I can see an increase of local fashion designers that needs lookbooks all the time. There is so much work in this area. You just need to use your chance properly, learn the right things, and work really hard to reach the success. Nothing works better than hard work. Once it's cleaned, we are ready to move on to another lesson. Probably I'm going to just soften these rough areas a little bit more over here. I really want this soft. I don't want to see too many hair over that area. And we'll be ready to move on to the next lesson.